Hello and welcome to the Tennis Menu's daily French Open show. I'm your host, Val and we're here for the tennismenu.com. Come and get an annual subscription for just $99.90 US, which includes over 600 tennis-specific drills and resources to make you a better tennis coach. We've got a massive edition of the show today. Serena Williams is out with an Achilles injury, pulled out before her match against Svetlana Pironkova in round 2 of Roland Garros. So Pironkova goes through to round 3, continues her stunning run of form. And also Victoria Azarenka, the US Open finalist, out. She's lost to Anna Karolina Schmiedlova 6-3, 6-2, 6-2. So an amazing win there for Schmiedlova. Zverev is through just in a 5-setter. Nadal, Thiem and Wawrinka all go through with relative ease as well as the tournament builds up to its climax. Also, Nick Kyrgios involved in another Twitter feud. We'll tell you with who it is with this time. Pretty unbelievable from both parts. But joining me on the show, as usual, is Marc, the best high-performance coach in the business. Marc, how are you? Big night of fitness last night.
Yeah, I'm going really well, Val. I was up at 3 a.m. this morning. It was more because of back pain than to watch the tennis. But I did get up and saw some amazing stuff happening. And how was Sarah Errani? I mean, that was absolutely incredible what she did on the court. And to yell the Italian profanity as she exited the court and seeing her opponent, Kiki Bertens, go off on a wheelchair, like a la Hannibal Lecter, just let me tell you that much. It was very Hannibal Lecter-like being wheeled off on that wheelchair. But yeah, amazing scenes last night at the French Open. Can't wait to go through it with you guys.
Yeah, and that's another one that we're going to get into. Errani v. Bertens. What the hell was going on in that match as well? And Joel Fritchie, we saw the fighter jet break the sonic barrier or the sound barrier last night and making a loud explosion. And well, you're here, so it's giving us the excitement that we need to make one of those explosions as well. How are you?
Oh, no, Joel is idiot. Oh, geez, it was some kind of night in the French Open. It really was. No, I'm good, boys. Like Marc said, I cannot wait to start talking about it all.
Oh, very good. I was waiting for someone to come up with something like that, and you just hit the nail on the head. Well done.
I'm actually sweating.
Absolutely incredible. Incredible.
Oh, God. All right, Joel, you're done for the show now. That's leaving a high mark, and I will just finish this one off. The old George Costanza. That's it for me. Oh, God. All right. Well, I don't think we can top that. We might as well just finish up. It was a great day of tennis. So we'll start with the men's side last night. And Dominic Thiem and Rafa Nadal were the two main men that got through. And look, Nadal destroyed Mackenzie McDonald 6-1, 6-love, 6-3, and Thiem over Jack Sock. Sock, it's a really tricky opponent. Only 2.5 years ago was Sock in the top 10. So Thiem getting through 6-1, 6-3, 7-6. So really good win for him. Needed that sort of extended hit out, I think, and got used to the conditions again. So massive win for him. Stan Wawrinka over Dominic Keffer in 4 sets. And, well, look, the sonic boom or the sonic barrier got broken in that match, and the footage of them both jumping out of fear was hilarious because it was quite loud. And Alexander Zverev over Pierre-Hugues Herbert was 2-1 down. It forced the 5th, and Zverev ended up getting over the line. But we'll talk about, again, his second serve stats are terrible. Diego Schwartzman continuing his stunning run of form as well. Over Lorenzo Giustino, 6-1, 7-5, 6. I love Benoit Paire, one of our favorites. He's gone. Federico Coria, younger brother of 2004 finalist Guillermo, is through in 4 sets. Kei Nishikori, I find it ironic that the ATP tweeted about Nishikori having the best 5-set record out of any current active player on the ATP. And then last night he lost the 5th set to Stefano Travaglia of it had to happen last night. And also Yannick Sinner through. The Italians are having a great tournament at the moment. Sebastian Korda, son of Petr Korda, we'll talk about that as well. And playing in your father's footsteps, or following in your father's footsteps with that pressure. Former Grand Slam champion. Pedro Martinez through as well. Hugo Gaston getting through. Norbert Gombos continuing his run. He's still going. Lorenzo Sonego, Casper Ruud, Marco Cecchinato, 4 Italians through to the 3rd round of the French Open so far, and Taylor Fritz all getting through. But we'll start with the Alexander Zverev match against Pierre-Hugues Herbert, 2-6, 6-4, 7-6, 4-6, 6-4. The double faults again, Marc. It's a worry. 10 aces, 11 double faults, and only winning 42% of his second serve points on the clay. That is a worry, especially when you're coming up against resident clay courter in Marco Cecchinato in round 3, who has destroyed Alex de Minaur and beaten another clay courter in Juan Ignacio Londero.
Yeah, Cecchinato's in great form at the moment, and obviously Zverev, he's getting the job done. So it's one of those things that we spoke about this with our US Open show. If you can get the job done, it doesn't matter. If you're not getting the job done, that makes it a huge issue. But, definitely that second serve is playing a bit of a role in players getting a little closer to them than he would like. And players are stepping into it and really putting some pressure on. So, Cecchinato is definitely going to do that. He's probably going to step in and take some time away from that second serve. And there's no doubt, Zverev does feel the heat. He feels the nerves, he feels the pressure, and he's got to start to get that second serve sorted. Otherwise, players are going to take it and run with it. And it's going to be a very interesting match, this next one for Zverev, and I think it's a bit of a touch and go. I'm almost tipping a little bit of an upset here, and I think Cecchinato might get over the line.
Well, I do think Cecchinato is going to get over the line just because of the way he played Zverev at the Australian Open earlier this year. So they met in the opening round, and Cecchinato, so Zverev won it comfortably 6-4, 7-6, 6-3. But the problem was Cecchinato had chances to win both the first set and the second set. So I think, and that's on a hard court. So if you translate that all the way into the clay, which Cecchinato 2 years ago, he was a semi-finalist at Roland Garros, and 2 of those sets against Dominic Thiem were very close. So he obviously knows these courts well. He's adapted to conditions, like you said 2 days ago and yesterday. The qualifiers are doing very well. He's come through that process. He's looking really, really solid. And who knows, he could be in for another big run, although quarters is probably as far as he's going to get because that's the quarter that Rafa's in. But still, he's thereabouts, and Zverev is there for the taking, I think, because of the slower conditions. So it's going to make things very, very interesting indeed. But moving on, Joel, we saw Rafa Nadal last night against Paul Mackenzie McDonald.
Yeah.
I felt, how sorry did you feel for him last night? It was just 6-1, 6-love, 6-3. The first game looked so promising. Rafa's serving. McDonald gets up 15-30. That was the only time he led for the entire match because Nadal just steamrolled him after that.
Yeah, I feel extremely sorry for him. It was really just Rafa doing Rafa things on clay, really, at Roland Garros. He just did what he had to do and just motored past poor old Mackenzie McDonald. And to add insult to injury for Mackenzie, it was no sort of attack or anything. It was more just a form of pleasant mockery, if you like, after the match. Burger King France came out on their Twitter account and tweeted at Rafael Nadal with a photo of the scoreline and said, "Are you still hungry?" So, so all up, probably one of those matches that Mackenzie McDonald will probably just look back on and maybe have a bit of a laugh. It might be a sort of laugh or cry scenario, but it was good to see him back on the Grand Slam circuit. He's been there for a little bit, but yeah, Rafa just did what he had to do, really.
Yep. Absolutely, absolute goal there from Burger King France. But did you see Bastien Fachan, who works in social media at the Mouratoglou Academy in France? He tweeted last night that Nadal has handed out 110 bagels at the French Open, Djokovic 97 and Federer 95. So that is a lot of bagels at the French Open handed out. So what is that? That's 200, 290. So that's 302 bagels, if my maths is correct. I'm pretty sure. Let's go with that anyway.
Maybe you should open a patisserie or something.
They'd have to. That is absolutely ridiculous. The fact that that's it's unbelievable. Or 292. I don't know. Let's not go with my. No, I think 302. All right, no, we're good. But it's pretty unbelievable. And he said that they could open their own French Open bakery because of how many that they've taken. And look, I don't think that's going to be the last of Nadal's, and maybe certainly not Djokovic's either. Who knows what if Federer will go to many French Opens after this year. But brilliant performance from Rafael Nadal. Dominic Thiem looking really, really good against Jack Sock last night as well, Marc. And I'm not sure if you saw the match, but Thiem just to win like that, and he's played Cilic, a former Grand Slam champion, and now Jack Sock, a Masters 1000 winner and a former top 10 player. To beat them both in straight sets after a grueling and taxing US Open, what does that do for confidence, and how does that help Thiem going forward? Because it surely must be good signs from Dominic.
Yeah, look, I think he's in great form. I think his confidence is sky high regardless of beating these two players. I mean, beating Cilic is a huge effort the way he beat him. I think Jack Sock over the last few years has really struggled. He's His forehand is probably one of the worst on tour at the moment, and it's broken down several times. And his serve is great, but it's not following up with a +1 shot, and that's definitely let him down over the last few years. He was probably one of the biggest servers and obviously biggest 1-2 players in the game for a year or two there, and made his run, but then obviously has slipped away. But Dominic Thiem, to his credit, has just been incredible. I mean, the way he's playing his flawless tennis, it's almost like he's played the same surface from the US Open right the way through to now. He almost hasn't felt the change, and he obviously loves the clay courts. He can penetrate the court, but he can defend really well as well. And that was what we spoke about at the start of the tournament in our first show, was the player who can play great defense, but also then counterattack and play on the offense is going to get through this tournament pretty far. And obviously, to this stage, Nadal and Thiem and Djokovic are the two players that defend amazingly well, but then counterattack through the offense. And we did say that defense wins matches, and those three players are the best defensive players that are in this draw at the moment. So they're going to go a long way.
Yeah, I definitely agree there, 100%. And Joel, Stan Wawrinka, he looked in pretty ominous form against Dominic Kepper, who's played some really good tennis, played extremely well in Rome, getting to the quarterfinals, and then in Hamburg last week had a really solid outing as well. So Stan to get that through that one, 6-3, 6-2, 3-6, 6-1. I think that's a really solid performance from the three-time Slam champion, and setting up a possibility for him and Thiem to face off in the fourth round. So that would be extremely exciting. If that was to come about, how do you separate the two?
Yeah, well, firstly, might need a towel watching that match, but I think Dominic probably wins that. I think he's probably in the better form, riding a real sort of high. Obviously, we know what Stan can do on clay, and he's showing us that again. But really, I mean, we talk of the aesthetics of watching that match. I mean, the battle of the backhands, really. And this is something that I've always been really fascinated by, because when I personally go onto the, play the Magoos on Tuesday night, I've got a two-handed backhand, and, some guys have a one-handed backhand, and the guys that can execute that one-handed backhand from, the bottom level right up to the upper echelons of the ATP or the WTA, whatever it is, it's beautiful to watch. And so I guess, Marc, how does it come about really, and how can people I guess work on that one-hander when they've sort of grown up with a two-hander? Because I've been trying to work on my own one-hander, but I'm very much in the two-hand camp, and it's just so hard to get used to.
It is, and it's interesting you bring up that point, because I feel like obviously there's probably about 80% of the men's top 100 have got a double-handed backhand. I think it's like 96% or 97% of the females got a double-handed backhand. So the numbers are with the double-hander these days. Why? Because the game is so much faster, and the two-hander can absorb so much more than the one-hander. And you've got less things that can go wrong with the two. You can counterpunch, etc. The one-hander for me is one that can generate more ball speed. Why? Because there's no second hand to stop the rotation happening. So with a single hand backhand, you can actually rotate approximately about 10 degrees more in terms of your take back, which allows you to get more elastic energy. So you're building up more energy in your system, gaining more momentum with your racket because there's a longer swing path for it to follow, therefore generating more ball speed. So when you watch these guys on the clay, it's poetry in motion, because they get time to be able to load up and literally go it. And that's what I love watching the one-handers for, is they just have, when they've got time, it's just a beautiful thing to watch. The only thing with that one-hander, defensively, it can get caught out. Obviously, they slice a lot more than the two-handed backhand players because they're a bit stronger through that. But they generally get caught out on the higher ball up here, and that's where the two-handers generally expose them. And talking about the two-handers, we spoke about Nadal before, and when he does play a team or he plays with Wawrinka down the track, the ball height, I mean, you spoke about it earlier in your intro, he's hitting the backhand on average 142 centimetres above net height. And to give that into context, Mackenzie McDonald was only playing at 59 centimetres above net height. So what Nadal does is he puts the ball higher above the hitting strike zone, and against the single-handers, that may expose them a little bit, and talking Thiem and Wawrinka down the track. So, yeah, it's pros and cons, obviously, for both. I mean, the ideal scenario, you have a two-handed return, two-handed defensive ball, but then when you load up with one. So that would be my ideal player if you could pick that. But, yeah, there's pros and cons for both, and definitely it's a beautiful shot to watch when it's in full flight.
Yeah, it definitely is. And so say if you had to teach one, would you be teaching the two?
I think now these days I generally lean towards a 2. There's 2 reasons why. Generally, as a young player, it's very hard to teach a one-handed backhand. So they all start with 2, and you want them to have some confidence and obviously some success doing it early on in their tennis playing career, so they can get some confidence playing. So you keep them with the 2, but then as you go along, obviously it's very hard to change that, because the two-handed backhand is actually dominated by the opposite side of the body, not by the dominant side. So you're training the opposite side to take control, and then all of a sudden you want to flip that and then gain control with your dominant side. So it is quite challenging to do, and obviously, it takes a very, very skilled coach to be able to do that. So if you're out there trying at the start of your career, make sure you've got the right coach in with you, and make sure you've got the right advice, because you can very, very easily get caught doing one that you don't want to do and be stuck with it.
Well, just leave your number on a graphic here so we can call you and get the lessons for that one-handed backhand. I remember when I used to start playing, and this was when I was little, I had the game Smash Court Tennis Pro Tournament 2 on PlayStation 2, and my character had a one-handed backhand. So I always used to just try the one-hander and was not great at it. But yeah, where I went to have lessons, they taught me to play with the 2, and I always regret that. So yeah, fingers crossed. I might need you to coach me, Marc, and we can
happy to do it post French Open. We'll get on the court, Val. And I'm glad you talked about growing up. You had a PlayStation, because growing up I had an Atari, and back then the Atari really didn't have the graphics for me to get really into tennis. So we've grown up in different eras, Val, and it's very interesting hearing that you had a PlayStation. And I had a little old Atari that had stick figures. So well done, mate.
I appreciate that, Marc. But moving on, Sebastian Korda last night, a great story. He won his first Grand Slam match at the French Open in the first round, and then continued that and moved on into the second. Took down John Isner last night, 6-4, 6-4, 2-6, 6-4, replicating his father's footsteps. Peter Korda obviously won the Australian Open in 1998. How much pressure, Marc, is it to follow in your father's footsteps, a guy that's won a Grand Slam, and come out and have all that expectation on you, especially with both of his sisters being such good golfers, and one of them is a women's major champion, in Nelly Korda. So it's obviously it's very difficult to follow in those footsteps and then maintain form.
Yeah, look, it's an interesting one, Val, you bring up, because I've never felt in tennis that the father-son or the father-daughter or mother-daughter kind of thing was much pressure. I thought it was actually more of a help, having someone that had walked in that position before them to give them advice on how to handle certain situations. And being an individual sport, it's obviously a little bit easier that way to obviously be able to do that and give your child some advice. Obviously, Peter was a fantastic player, and Sebastian's definitely following a lot in those footsteps. He's playing some really good tennis and looking the goods in terms of his long-term career. It looks like he's got a real game to go further. And obviously Peter Korda won an Australian Open in 98, I think it was, Val, you said, and but also had a bit of drama when in 98 he also was found guilty of having a banned substance at Wimbledon. And he had an up and down career. He had some really really good wins, but also some really difficult times. So it'd be very interesting to see how Sebastian does fare in the next few years.
Yeah, 100% agree, and I think it's been. I think it's a massive result for Sebastian, junior Australian Open champion, 20 years after his dad won the main title. So absolutely fantastic for Sebastian to get through to a third round. Before we do get to the Nick Kyrgios stuff, we'll do that at the end of the show and his Twitter feud overnight. We'll start with the women's draw as well. Elena Vesnina getting through over Renata Zarazua. That is a fantastic name. We need to get more Mexicans on the tour because they have some awesome names. She won that 6-3, love 6-6-2. And Joel, you had some interesting stats on that second set. So we'll talk to you about that in a second. Svetlana Pironkova, as I said, a walkover win over Serena Williams out with an Achilles injury. So again, that's the second time in 3 years she's had to pull out of the French Open before playing the designated match that she was supposed to. Amanda Anisimova, straight sets win over Bernarda Pera. So she'll set up a clash with Simona Halep, last year's semi-finals against the 2018 winner. Caroline Garcia continuing her good form, 7-6, 6-2 over Alexandra Sasnovich. Coco Gauff out against Martina Trevisan of Italy, 4-6, 6-2, 7-5. Gauff second serve again, just proving to be too difficult. Anna Karolina Schmedlova over Victoria Azarenka, 6-2, 6-2. Absolutely massive win for her over the US Open finals. Anastasia Pavlyuchenkova gone over Katerina Siniakova. Barbara Krejcikova also threw over Barbara Strycova. Daria Gavrilova gone. Eugenie Bouchard into the third round of a major for the first time since the Australian Open in 2017. And Katerina Alexandrova over Astra Sharma. Maria Sakkari also through, as is Iga Swiatek and Elise Mertens. But this one, Kiki Bertens over Sara Errani. 7-6, 3-6, 9-7 in favour of the Dutch woman. So, Joel, I'll let you run through what exactly happened in this final set because there was a lot.
Oh. Yeah, well, so a brief sort of summary of what happened in this match. It was just pure craziness. So for starters, it went for 3 hours and 10 minutes, right? So it's a long women's match. 3 sets, but just a smattering of what happened. So there was a point in that match where Sara Errani 6 times in a row attempted her ball toss on serve. 6 times. I think I've never seen that before. 6 times she had to do the ball toss and before she finally served. So there was that. She tried an underarm serve and missed it. So that's not really what you want when you're trying an underarm serve. Kiki Bertens at the end was wheeled off the court in a wheelchair, which is just incredible. And there was a funny little moment with Dylan Alcott on Twitter who said, "Do you want to play some mixed doubles, Kiki?" Which I thought was quite funny. But as Sara Errani was walking off the court, and this was after no racket tap either, so clearly there was a bit of bad blood for whatever reason at the end of that match. But Sara Errani walks off the court, and for any Italian speakers with kids in cars, please block your ears. This is your warning. She just, at the top of her lungs, goes, "Vaffanculo," walking off the court. And any Italian speaker will know what that means. And to be honest, a lot of English speakers will know what that means too. But it was just a crazy, crazy match. Really was.
Incredible.
Show, Marc.
Incredible. Like, it was actually really interesting. It is interesting to watch the Twitter feeds because Kiki Bertens apparently took 45 minutes to stop cramping after that match. She had treatment, she had massage, she had everything to try and get rid of the treatment. She had to get rid of the cramp. She had cramp through her legs, cramp through her hands. She had cramp through her upper body. She broke down in tears straight after that match. It was a very emotional match, and it looked like it was huge. And that underarm serve you talk about came at 5-4, 30-15 Errani serving, and she's gone the underarm serve. Who does that? Like, at that moment in time, like, it's a huge point. What are you doing? So yeah, it's just incredible to watch that and everything that unfolded from it. I think it was very, very interesting and unsportsmanlike from Errani when she left the court. No racket tap, swearing, carrying on, and just very silly scenes. And if you haven't seen it, jump on Twitter and have a look. I think we might even post up the video just to show people how interesting it was. Yeah,
it was pretty crazy. But that quarter opens up massively now for someone to get through to a quarterfinal and play Simona Halep. I reckon Katerina Siniakova could even get through because Bertens would be so sore. But yeah, it'd be very interesting to see what happens in that side of the draw there. But continuing on, Victoria Azarenka is gone. Unbelievable win for Anna Karolina Schmedlova, 6-2, 6-2. Was anybody expecting this?
No.
Yeah.
No, and yeah. Was not expecting Victoria Azarenka to play so poorly either, boys. I think the figure was 18 winners but 38 unforced errors. So that's, quite a lot. It's, Val's face says it all. If you're watching on YouTube, you would have seen it. But if you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. But,
it's not really very good, listeners. You don't need to say it.
Yeah, but really unexpectedly poor performance from Vika after all that we've seen of her since the restart. But I mean, talking of quarters opening up, not the bottom quarter of the women's draw, but the second quarter of the women's draw has really, really opened up. A lot of big names here have fallen. Victoria Azarenka, Serena Williams, Venus, Putintseva. It has opened up massively. And you can really see someone like Svetlana Poronkova potentially making a quarterfinal again, which would be a wonderful, wonderful story.
Yeah, it would be. It'd be absolutely massive. And hopefully she does because she deserves it. She's had a wonderful, she's in a rich vein of form anyway. So fingers crossed we can see her get there. Why is Marc laughing at me? I just see him start laughing, but you won't be laughing in a sec.
In one of those shows.
On someone. But no, Elena Svitolina only just getting through against Renata Zarazua as well. Joel, you mentioned some stats last night about the difference between Svitolina in the first set and the second. Would you care to just enlighten us on what actually happened?
Yeah, so I can only imagine that in that second set, Elena's head just completely left the stadium, really, because she was pretty good in the first set. Don't think she was spectacular, but she was, fairly solid. But that second set, she was just nowhere. Both her serves, first and second serves, were going at below 40% win. And only 2 winners, 16 unforced errors. So she really fell off a bit of a cliff in that second set, which was a huge concern, I think, for her going forward. She did recover in the third set to go on and win that match, as she should have done. But yeah, that second set will be a real worry for her, I think.
Yeah, agree. And just quickly, Serena Williams, before we do get to Nick Kyrgios, Marc, Serena Williams is out. Look, I said before the US Open, I don't think she can win this 24th slam. I'm still not convinced that she can, even though she did get to the semi-finals. Do these injuries after one match in these conditions, does that give you any indication of where she's at? Is time running out? Because I know she does want to have a second child.
Yeah, you're right, Val. I mean, she's just turned 39 at the start of the French Open, and, time is running out for her. I mean, whether or not, she can do it. You obviously said she wants to have another child as well. She's made that public that she wants to do that. I give her the rest of this year and possibly next year, but I would say after that, I think time's running out for a second child as well. So, you've got to look at that option from a family perspective as well and see what's most important to you. And I don't think she was ever going to win the French Open. We did state that at the start of our preview show, but I think that it's interesting. If she has a chance, it's the US Open, it's Wimbledon, or it's the Australian Open, and that's all she's got. I don't think she'll win another French Open.
Agree. She might even do a Roger Federer and take the time off and maybe train on the grass next year and possibly just put all her eggs into the Wimbledon basket. So she might equal the 24th Grand Slam there. But we'll move on to the Nick Kyrgios Twitter furor last night. And this was directed. So he sent a tweet out at Mats Wilander just saying, Mats, you probably don't attack Andy Murray after what he said pretty much about Andy Murray, saying that Murray should be taking the wild cards and should give it to the younger players because Wilander did that during his career and he regrets it now. He's entitled to his opinion. I don't necessarily agree with what Wilander has said because Andy Murray's Andy Murray. He can do whatever he likes. If he wants to take the wild card, take it. If you still feel as though you can be competitive, do it because he obviously is. He's beaten Zverev last month. So Kyrgios just read what Wilander said about Andy Murray. Shut up, Mats. No one cares. Muzz, just know that however long you stay, we'll appreciate and enjoy your tennis and banter. Also, I've never watched a point of Mats Wilander. Karen Khashanov then responded, Nick, come on, mate. It's too much. Show some respect. And they ended up getting into a bit of an argument on Twitter. And Kyrgios essentially said, finish it off with saying, picture books don't count after Khashanov told him to read books and said, judging from how you constructed this sentence. So that was the end of it there. Look, I think there's a little bit of irony involved here in that Kyrgios is trying to hold people accountable for their behaviour, i.e. Novak Djokovic, Alexander Zverev, Borna Coric. But then saying things like that, I think, is a little bit ironic considering his behaviour there isn't overly fantastic. He's entitled to his opinion, but to have a Twitter furor with another player and insult him like that, even though Khashanov himself isn't in the right either. I don't think what he said was right and telling Kyrgios about playing video games all day. But a question for you, Marc. As a coach, if you're seeing your player is getting involved in a Twitter battle like that during a Grand Slam, what are you saying to them?
Yeah, look, I mean, Khashanov obviously was probably protecting the integrity of the game a little bit by coming back, and obviously, fair call. You're on social media, and all the players are on it. They're doing stuff on it all the time. I think after the first one, once Nick bit back at him, I think you'd say, "Dude, stop. Okay, it's enough. You don't need to be focusing your energy on that." At the end of the day, they're grown men. They know how to respond. They should know how to respond. And it was quite an immature conversation as it went on. The starting point was Nick protecting Andy. Then Khashanov was protecting the integrity of the game and a legend of the game. And then it got into a bit of a stupid argument. It did. It got personal, and pretty much what you see between two young kids. And it didn't need to happen. And if you haven't seen it, if you're listening to this show and you haven't seen it, go on Twitter and check it out and make an opinion for yourself. Because I think it's very interesting that, Kyrgios was trying to do the right thing, and then it turned into something that probably wasn't super from anyone's part. And I think it's, if I was coaching Khachanov, I'd say to him, mate, enough. Let's get ready for our next match.
Yep, agree. And look, Khachanov he just said show some respect. Then Nick made it a bit personal, which probably, look, it didn't need to happen. And I think in this situation, it's like, okay, guys, just settle it down. We're in the middle of a Grand Slam. Like, this doesn't need to be going on. And look, in all seriousness, Andy's got a PR team. And Murray, I think, if Murray didn't want to comment, doesn't have to comment. Nick Kyrgios doesn't need to go in and bat for him, even though he feels it's the right thing to do, and he's protecting a friend. So I can understand where he's coming from. I can understand where Khashanov's coming from, but the way it got out of hand, I don't think it was needed. But that's the bombshell that we'll end on today, guys. It's been a massive day of Roland Garros tonight. We've got Jelena Ostapenko against Karolina Pliskova. That's very exciting. Sofia Kenin, Novak Djokovic, Stefanos Tsitsipas, all in action. Denis Shapovalov, Garbine Muguruza, Matteo Berrettini, Grigor Dimitrov, Elisa Cornet, Alejandro Davidovich Fokina, he's in action as well. Andrei Rublev, Khachanov himself in action against Yuri Vesely. So we've got a lot of great tennis. Roberto Bautista Agut as well. So plenty to get through tonight. Some great matches. Marc Polman's first up on court 9 against Christian Garin. We can't wait to see that. Marc Safoulis, thank you very much for joining us on the show today.
Well, it's been a pleasure, and looking forward to another great night of tennis, and hopefully some more Vafankulos and some more sonic booms. Bring back the old Street Fighter. It'd be pretty cool. Looking forward to it, and looking forward to seeing you guys tomorrow.
Thanks very much, Marc. And M-rated language today. Fantastic. It wasn't me. I'm rap. Joel Frucci, thank you very much.
Grazie, amici. Buonasera.
Actually, I don't know what that means. I'm half Italian, don't know any words, but I know what that means. And have a good day to you too. But Val Febo, Marc Safoulis, and Joel Frucci joining you on the Tennis Menu's daily French Open show. Remember, head to thetennismenu.com and get an annual subscription for just $99.90 US, which includes over 600 tennis-specific drills and resources to make you a better tennis coach. Plenty more to get through in Roland Garros. We'll catch you tomorrow.